Hello and welcome to The Spin in a rather unsettled world at the moment. And today we are going to be talking to someone who's been on tour with us. Her name is Zoe Watson and she is... Where are you? Zoe, are you in Brisbane?
Yes, I'm in Brisbane at the moment.
Brisbane, Australia. And
that's right.
We've known each other during a tour. You came on a tour of Thailand. We had loads of fun.
I did, one of the first tours. Yeah, it was a great experience.
A lot of fun for us too. So today we just wanted to catch up with you and ask about how you're doing during this pretty unusual time in the world, isn't it?
It is. Look, unusual is definitely the way to put it. I've had, I think, quite an interesting experience with the good old coronavirus. At the beginning of this year, I actually moved down to Melbourne, which is in Victoria, a different state in Australia, because I had been offered and accepted a program a graduate program with Coles Supermarkets. So I moved there to start a new job, which was also going to be my first time out of home. Go big or go home. Am I right, Rod?
I like that. So in Melbourne?
Yes. So for those of you not familiar with Australia, that's about a 2.5 hour flight from Brisbane, where all my family is located. So very much branching out on my own, going into the world to start living an independent life, as this was my first time out of home. Now, you can't really see it based on the screen, but I have a disability called spinal muscular atrophy, and I have type 3. And what that means is that I'm unable to walk or stand. So I use a mobility scooter full time, and I do need some assistance around the home to help me live independently. So before moving to Melbourne, this had been provided by my parents pretty much.
Yep, and now you managed to get to Melbourne because of the NDIS, correct?
Yes, that's right. So while I was still at home, I didn't really need to access the NDIS a huge amount, because my parents, my mum and dad, and my brother, on occasion, would just provide the support that I needed around the home. So, minor domestic tasks, any assistance with personal care, those sorts of things, that would be covered by them. But moving to Melbourne, I obviously didn't have that support network anymore. So, and
I'm sure, Zoe, that you wanted to move. I'm sure you wanted an independent life, which wouldn't have been even a possibility before the NDIS, because we all, as much as we love our family, it's fantastic to be independent, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And as you're aware, Rod, today is my 25th birthday.
Yes, we're going to sing happy birthday soon. That was a surprise. Come on.
But no, very much, I wanted to be like all my other friends and people my age. As much as I love I was very ready to move out of the home and start being on my own and being independent and doing all those normal things, which with the support of the NDIS, I was very successfully able to. So moved down, my parents came with me, of course. My mum and I flew down. My dad did the 2-day drive in my car.
They didn't let go easily?
They stayed for a few weeks just to obviously help me set up my apartment and get settled in. And then it was obviously sad to say goodbye to them. But no, they were very happy. They wanted me to be doing everything that everyone else my age was doing. So sad to have the distance between us, but very happy for me to be able to be on my own and be independent and just do what everyone else does.
Fantastic. I know they're lovely parents. I met them once for lunch. Before you went on the tour, they checked us out to make sure we weren't going to do anything terrible to their little daughter, if I remember.
Yes, that's right. You met my mum.
What concerns me, though, is what's happened since the coronavirus. You are back. Why are you back?
Yes, so look, with the coronavirus, it presented an interesting time, because even though I have a disability, it doesn't affect my breathing ability or my lungs in any way, so I wasn't more susceptible to it. But it more so just became an issue of whether or not I would still be able to access the services through the NDIS that I was accessing, because I believe they still aren't actually classed as essential services. So in talking to the organisation that was providing me with that support, while they said that they would provide services, as long as they were able, so while they had staffing and were allowed by the government, they couldn't actually guarantee that they would be able to continue operating throughout the coronavirus, which put me in an awkward position, because with those services, then I'm not able to live independently.
Well, I've been speaking to someone since I briefly spoke to you this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and they are, quite frankly, appalled that they put you in that situation. They are an essential service, and they need to provide what it is their responsibility to provide what they promised. Now, I've spoken, I won't name them, but I've spoken to an NDIS provider here, and they said in situations where they can't provide something, they link up with another NDIS provider and they work together. They said it is absolutely essential that they give you what you needed. Now, my question is, have you lost your job or your position?
No, so I'm very fortunate because I am working for a supermarket company. At the moment, business is thriving. So they've actually provided us all with laptops, and a few weeks ago we were all given the order to work just because they couldn't risk having that many people in close contact. So I'm very lucky that I've been able to come back to Brisbane and stay with family, but still be able to continue working for the company. If business wasn't booming, or even if it just, other companies, they might not have been able to provide that sort of flexibility. So I'm very grateful and consider myself very fortunate that I haven't lost my job, because I've been required to come back to Queensland.
So have you kept your rental situation and so on going in Melbourne?
Yes, so I, as I'm sure you can understand, Rod, because I do use a mobility scooter, I can't just walk into any apartment and find that it will, have the right setup for my needs.
So you need to keep the one you've got.
Exactly. So even though I'm living in Brisbane, I am still paying rent for my apartment, because it's a great little apartment. It's not specifically built for a person with a disability, but it's got the right bathroom configuration, the light switches aren't too high up, all those sorts of things. So yeah, I definitely don't want to let that go. So I've resigned myself to the fact that I'll have to keep paying rent, even while I'm not living in it, which is a shame, but it's just a matter of the situation.
Let's assume that what I said before is correct, and it is an essential service, and you didn't need to move.
Yep.
Would you have preferred to have stayed there?
Oh, most definitely. I love my family. We get along really well. But I've only been out of the home for it's April now, about 2-3 months. I was just starting to get into a good routine, starting to build up that social network of friends that I could rely on in Melbourne, because I didn't have any friends or family when I moved down there. And the coronavirus itself, while it's serious, it doesn't concern me, because I don't believe I'm at a higher risk than anyone else.
Higher risk than anyone else, yeah.
No, exactly. It's just whether or not I would be able to receive the services that I needed to be able to live independently. So if they could have guaranteed, I would have stayed.
If you're not comfortable answering the next question, please just don't answer it. But could I ask, what kind of care did they need to provide that they couldn't guarantee? Is that a question?
Yeah, that's fine. So I was receiving support in the home. So the support workers would come every night, usually later at night, after 10 o'clock, give or take, depending on whether it was a weekday or a weeknight. And then they would help me with just getting ready for bed and getting into bed, and then just some minor assistance throughout the night, and then help me up in the morning. So not to be dramatic or overstated, but if those workers weren't there, I can't get into bed and sleep.
But that's not a large load, is it? I mean, that's not a major thing.
No, I don't think it is. The workers that would come were under no expectation to stay awake during the night. I'd set up, systems so that, I could call them during the night if I needed assistance. So yeah, I really don't think it was that much to ask for, but it was more so just the fact that because it wasn't declared essential, they weren't able to guarantee.
It wasn't declared essential that you need to go to bed and sleep.
Yes. Yeah,
So
I know. I find that.
what did they expect you to do? Sit in your chair?
Look, I'm honestly not sure what they expected me
And
to
do you
do.
have help with showering and things like that?
No, I'm able to do everything else independently. It's just
Can't go to bed.
that getting in and out of bed. Yeah, and look, in my previous role, I have had to do night shifts before where I've been sitting up, awake in my chair, dozing when I had the opportunity to, and it's not sustainable, quite frankly.
It's not what the
Yeah.
NDIS is about.
No, it's
And
not. It's
and
supposed to be there to
if
support.
I'm right,
Mhm.
and it is an essential service and they don't provide it, I would thoroughly suggest you change providers, by the way.
Yes, well, it wasn't the provider itself. It was more so the guarantee or lack of guarantee, I should say, from the NDIS.
Are you
And
sure
with
that comes from the
because I was,
NDIS or not the provider?
it was a combination, and because the border was closing, there was no guarantee that if I found myself in a situation where they weren't going to be able to provide services anymore, that I would be able to get to a place where I would be able to receive that support.
Let's
So it was a
first of all
combination.
say, because I'm not picking on the NDIS, I think the NDIS is one of the most wonderful things ever to happen in the country. And I see them trying to help people all the time and trying to do what they can to give us lives with a normality that we didn't have before, or an accessibility that we didn't have before, if we want to use a more politically correct term. So I love the NDIS. What I'm interested in here is that I personally believe the NDIS would consider it an essential service, and I'm going to check into that, and I'll get back to you. And if they do, the situation is not caused by the NDIS, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, no, I do understand. I agree. The NDIS, it's a fantastic program. Without it, I couldn't have even begin to consider
Yeah.
moving interstate away from family. But it just seems like at the moment the government is focusing on a lot of other areas rather than on how the coronavirus affects people with a disability
Yeah.
and what that means for
And it
people
does
who
affect them
require
very,
services.
very largely in this case.
Mm.
I mean, it's
Oh,
caused you
definitely.
to have to leave where you live. It's caused you to have to leave your friends in Melbourne. And potentially, which is thankfully it didn't, imagine if you had a job where you couldn't have moved. It would potentially put your job
Oh,
at
I
risk.
know.
So
Oh, most definitely.
we'll look into that. Let's move on from that for a minute and just talk about some of the other things. Well, first of all, what's been the hardest thing about the coronavirus for you? I guess having to move home. I guess that's a silly question.
Yeah, look, I would probably say it's more so just been the adjustment in lifestyle. So both in the fact that I've had to move home and be back with family, but also in the fact that, you can't just pop out to the shops and, grab a coffee or get a bite to eat. It's just, the whole world is changing, and in a way, it's good because I think for a lot of people with different types of disabilities to mine, it's, so many people are now working remotely. It's showing that a lot of industries are able to do that. So in the future, hopefully that should make the working world more accessible to people with certain disabilities. But yeah, it's just the whole world has shifted, honestly.
You're right.
Who would
It
have
could
thought?
actually provide an infrastructure that is more friendly for people with disabilities to work at home, because people will, or businesses will be more accepting of that kind of scenario.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the world, or rather what the world is like after coronavirus, because the world has changed so dramatically because of coronavirus, as we're trying to handle it at the moment.
Well, the inverse question to that one, what's been the best thing about the situation?
So you may or may not remember Rod, but I have a little dog called Sam. He is a gorgeous little dog who is my whole world.
And you couldn't take him to Melbourne?
No, I couldn't take him to Melbourne, and we had a very tearful goodbye before I left, but it just wouldn't be fair to him to, you know, come live in an apartment in Melbourne with me when he can live at home with a big backyard and a lot more people around. So as nice as it was to see my family, I was more excited to see Sam, my dog.
That's terrible. Listen, don't let your mum watch this, okay?
See, but the thing is, she would agree with me.
Is the dog around?
Oh, no, I think he's asleep at the moment.
Oh, we'd love to see him.
Unfortunately. Oh, look, he's adorable. I might have a photo.
Yeah, if you've got a photo, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Yeah. All right, let me... Here we go. I'll just hold it to the screen. That's my little boy.
That. What's his name again?
Yeah. Sam.
And what sort of dog is he, apart from beautiful?
So I am a crazy dog lady. I'm the first person to admit that. We actually got him doggy DNA tested a few years ago to find out what exact breed he was.
Well, move him away so we can see your face while you talk to us, but go on.
Yeah. So no, he came back as a mix of a breed called Border Terrier, which it turns out is a Scottish hunting dog, because they needed a dog that had long enough legs to keep up with the horses, but was still small enough to be able to chase after the foxes. So he's primarily a Border Terrier with a little bit of Maltese and Poodle mixed in. So I know that makes me sound crazy, but
I knew you were crazy a long time before you told me that, so... So that's been the best thing, huh?
Oh, most definitely. That and not having to cook and clean for myself anymore.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, yeah. Also, what I've found difficult is we're told to wash our hands all the time. Right now, I can't stand up, as you know.
Yes, we are.
And I can't get any hand cleaner.
No.
So this, for people with disabilities, I think there should be a priority into that, because if we can't do the 20-second hand washing, we need more than many other people access to the hand cleaner, don't you think?
Oh, I definitely agree with you. And, you know, even just from a more broader perspective, you know, people with disabilities might not be able to get to the shops as often as people without disabilities. So I was really glad to hear when the supermarkets introduced the community hour, but it still seems like maybe there are a few more measures that could be taken maybe by the government. I'm not sure what would be the most appropriate.
Just things like the cleaning hands is very important, because I'm in a situation at the moment without a carer, because I've had to, anyway, that doesn't matter. So the thing is, I'm having a lot of difficulty with things like cleaning my hands. If I stand up, which is a very wobbly and precarious thing to do, to wash my hands, so I'm actually risking falling down. So that's one area where I think they've missed the boat, but they've done a lot of other great things. But anyway, that was just something I thought I'd bring up. I've got another question for you. Go on, keep going.
Oh no, I was just going to say something that I would use a lot would be baby wipes. And, you know, I was finding out I was having to go to, you know, 3-4 different stores just to try and find a good old packet of baby wipes.
Yeah, well, today I wanted Glen 20 and Dettol, and I couldn't get that either.
Oh no.
So, anyway, but I mean, we're all in the same boat. There's everybody in the country is in the same boat there. Just moving on a little bit again. You enjoy your travel. I know you'd love to come back to Thailand.
Oh, definitely.
Question: when the coronavirus has run its course, at least for now, and or we've found a cure or whatever else, will you be nervous about traveling, or will you be able to embrace it again very quickly?
Oh, not at all. I won't be nervous. I'll be, raring to get back out there and start seeing great places in the world. In fact, after the coronavirus hit and the news of the, what was the name of the ship? Was it the Ruby?
The Ruby
Princess or something like that?
Yeah.
The one in Japan that had all the cases. I got an email with a really good sale for a cruise in December, and I was strongly considering it.
Good on you.
So no, I'll be raring to get back out there and start seeing the world again.
Where does the cruise go to?
I think it was New Zealand, which I've done before, but it was a really good one.
Otherwise, come back
to
Thailand for the Friendly Design Expo. Otherwise, all right.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Always keen to see new places and go back to good ones.
Zoe, it's been wonderful talking to you. We'll have to get you on the panel of the Spin more often. It's great to finally catch up. By the way, before
Yes,
I do go, you're in Victoria. I hope you've chosen a football team by now.
Oh, Rod, you know me. I'm much more into musical theatre than sports teams.
Well, I love musical theatre too, but just for me, my dad barracked for South Melbourne. My grandpa barracked for South Melbourne. I barracked for South Melbourne, which, by the way, is now Sydney Swans because they've moved. So
Okay.
I would like you to adopt my team. Is that all right?
Look, no promises, but I'll certainly consider it.
Well, over the top of any others, put it that way.
Okay, all right.
That'll do.
I can promise
okay.
you that.
I'll send you a scarf. Have a lovely day. And I will.
You too, Rod.
We'll talk to you soon. And thank you
Yes.
very much. Just wait on the end of the line. I'll grab you in a sec. Hang on.
Sure thing.
Folks, that is Zoe. She is a live wire. She kept us on our feet, if you'll pardon the pun, considering most of us couldn't stand up. She kept us on our feet in Thailand. We had loads of fun. It was interesting to catch up to someone else and get their opinions of what's happening, or their view of what's happening with the coronavirus. I will follow up the situation with the responsibility of the NDIS, and we'll get back to you on the next show and tell you what we've found out, perhaps even try and get Zoe back in again. Until then, see you next time on The Spin.